Staying in contact. I'm London Mitchell. Each week, we take a few minutes to discuss an issue facing our community. Sometimes we talk about the history and the heritage of Northwest Ohio, and from time to time, focus on some very special activities. And one such activity, and one of my personal favorites, is Honor Flight. Flag City Honor Flight recently completed its second mission of the year. Veterans on this flight to Washington, D.C. to see the memorials for the veterans represented communities from all across Northwest Ohio. Flag City Honor Flight is a 100% volunteer-run nonprofit that relies on community support and donations to fund each mission. Corporate and individual sponsors help cover airfare, meals, ground transportation, and other essentials to ensure every veteran enjoys a meaningful, memorable experience. My guest this week is a representative from Flag City Honor Flight, Will Miller. Will, though himself not a veteran, has been on every flight. So I asked him, if he was not a veteran, why was he giving so much of his personal time to Honor Flight?
My motivation came many years ago out of two different avenues, actually. And that is one, I'm a photographer, and two, my grandfather was a veteran, and I got instilled my entire life, to honor the veterans and the respect that all the veterans have done for our country. And I was working for the newspaper in Findlay, and friends of mine who had started the Honor Flight were also working for the Findlay Publishing Company and the radio side of it. And they needed a photographer for the first flight. And they said, "Hey, would you like to go along to be the photographer on our first flight?" And I said, "Well, sure, absolutely. You know, it's veterans, it's photography, it's two things I love to do." And I kind of got involved with that, and went on the first flight. And I go back today and look, and I say, my grandfather was a veteran of the Korean War, and he never got to go on an honor flight. So I do this to take all the other men and women who had served and give them the honor that we can give them to take them on one of these flights.
So, from that first honor flight that you were on, Will, what were your emotions? What did you actually feel as you were interacting with the veterans on the flight and them seeing the memorials built in their honor?
It was a big experience on the first one. It was kind of a whirlwind because I wasn't sure what to expect, and being our inaugural flight out of Flag City here, a lot of us didn't really know what to expect. And we got there, and just trying to go through the paces of the everyday to make sure everything fell into place like it was. We had a lot of planning, a lot of things like that to go along with it. But throughout the day as it went on, you could tell the more and more emotion in the veterans' faces, their reactions. When you talk to them about their experiences, you got a chance to kind of feel how much difference this started making for each one of these veterans. And so through the day as it progressed, the more emotions, the more stories you heard, the more smiles you seen. And doing it like I did from behind the camera lens, I got to tell the story of the veteran of the day.
And what is that story?
Well, that story it's different for probably each generation of veteran, and somewhat on that is, the story from a World War II veteran was, we just got back, we just saved the world, and now we have to rebuild our country, and we have to, go forth and do everything that we need to do because, the whole world stood still for several years while we battled, in Europe and in the Pacific. Korea, the story was the country didn't want to go to war. Again, we just got off of World War II, and no one wanted to fight. And we we went over there. We called it a police action, and the country wasn't ready for war, but they supported it. And then, of course, Vietnam. A lot of folks understand about the Vietnam side of it, where the veterans didn't want to go to war. The country didn't support it. A lot of the country wasn't for it. And so the sentiment here at the country wasn't good. And the veterans didn't come home to a very good situation in a lot of cases. So kind of different for each situation, and then how each of the veterans came home from war was a little bit different.
Especially for the Vietnam veterans, they came home. They did not get the warm welcome the veterans of World War II received. So this was really an honor for them to be there, to see the wall, to get the honor that they didn't receive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of times you hear from a veteran, especially a Vietnam veteran. I never realized how much I was appreciated when I was over there, and how much people really did care about me. And maybe they did it 50 years later after the Vietnam War, but now they're getting the thank yous that they deserve, and we're going to give them the welcome home, as we do on the back end of every single honor flight. We give them that welcome home that they never got when they came back the first time. We give it to them the proper way that they should have got. Even though it's so many years later, we still make sure we honor that veteran and thank them for their service, and make sure we welcome them home properly.
Honor Flight began as a way to take World War II veterans to see the new memorial that was erected in their honor in Washington, D.C. They're gone now, most of those veterans. The ones you take on flights now are from Korea and from Vietnam.
Yeah, we do. We do get the occasional World War II veteran in there, but you're right. It's a few Korean guys and a lot of Vietnam veterans. Um, and you're right. Back in 20 years ago, this year, Honor Flight was started, and it was started to get those World War II veterans out there to see their memorials, and we did our best to get as many of those World War II veterans there as we can, and now we're taking the Korean and the Vietnam guys and trying to get every one of those we possibly can get there to see their memorials, to make sure they get that honor of their service.
And you're located in Findlay, but you draw passengers, veterans from all over Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So we are Flag City Honor Flight. We are based out of Findlay, as you said. However, we're the Honor Flight network hub for all of Northwest Ohio. So we basically stretch all over Northwest Ohio, and to take the veterans to Washington, D.C. There's over 135 Honor Flight hubs across the nation that are doing similar things, similar flights, similar flight days that we do, to get those veterans to Washington, D.C. as well. We're just one part of the network that is getting them there, and we take care of Northwest Ohio, and we do get some of the Southeast Michigan veterans there in the lower counties do step over and want to come with us, because we're a little bit closer than going up to one of the Michigan hubs. And we welcome any veteran that wants to fly with us, obviously.
I'm London Mitchell, and we are in contact this morning with Will Miller from Flag City Honor Flight. So, Will, if a veteran is listening and would like to get on one of your honor flights, and you have 2 more scheduled yet this season, how would they do that?
It's a real simple procedure today. If you're a veteran and you served, and it's anywhere from World War II up through 1975, that's kind of the cutoff limit right now where we're at with veterans. We just ask you to go out to our website, which is www.flagcityhonorflight.org. There is a tab on there for applications, and you can fill out the veteran application right there online. And once you do, you get an email back to let you know that it was successfully submitted, and then you get put on our list. And we get you out there, and we get you on our waiting list to be able to get you to Washington, D.C.
And what about escorts?
For our folks that go along with the veterans, we call them guardians, and the guardians that go along with those veterans can do the same thing. They can go out to our website, fill out an application. Now, if you're a veteran and you have somebody that you would like to go with you as your guardian, that's definitely a possibility, and that's something that we definitely try to help out with. If that's the case, then you can also put at the bottom of their application that you have somebody you'd like to be as your guardian, and then your guardian can also fill out an application, and then we match those together in our database. So when we do get ready to call these veterans for these flights, we say, oh, he has a guardian that already would like to go with him. Or if he doesn't, we pick from one of the other community guardians that we take along as well.
Now, There's no charge for a veteran to go on an honor flight, correct?
That's correct. It's 100% free for a veteran to go on an honor flight.
But you are asking the guardians to cover their costs.
Yeah, we're asking for a donation of $400 for every guardian that goes on the flight, and that is basically to help us offset the cost of the honor flights to take these veterans to Washington D.C.
Now, honor flight is by no means an inexpensive venture. These flights, and you leave from Toledo Express Airport to Washington and then come back, if I understand correctly. But it's not inexpensive, and you're a not for profit. Where do you get most of your operating cash from?
Well, and you are correct on that. It's not a inexpensive day to go out there and do this. And most of our funding, and I must say that we're very blessed in Flag City here, Flag City Honor Flight in the Northwest Ohio community. I got to say, one of probably the most generous and donating communities that's out here in probably all of Ohio, I might say. But we're blessed with several corporations and businesses that do make large donations every year. But we also have a lot of small individual groups, whether it be a veterans group or it would be a church group or it could be a school group or whatever it may be. They're all out there doing fundraisers. And, you know, if it's a bake sale or a chicken dinner or a golf outing, whatever it may be, and they do those in our honor to take these veterans to Washington, D.C. So we get the funding from a lot of areas. There is no government funding or anything like that. And we are an all volunteer organization. So the entire organization, every person that helps out and every person that goes on this flight, we are all volunteers and we take no money for anything that we do on this.
In addition to being able to see the monuments that were erected in their honor, the veterans are also well received when honor flight comes home.
That's correct, and it's kind of interesting all day long. And I give you a quick little anecdote of we just went a couple of weeks ago, and we had a school group that from Virginia that we had no idea who these folks were, and they knew we were coming in, and they had signs for every one of our veterans to welcome them there, to thank them for their service. They made cards and blankets for every one of our veterans. And then you're right, when we get back to that hangar at Grand Air over at Toledo Express Airport, you know, the big surprise of the day, and we say surprise, but you know, a lot of people kind of know there's something going to happen, but they don't really know exactly everything that's going to happen. But we get off that airplane and then we raise that hangar door to several thousand people inside that hangar, cheering, clapping, a lot of hugs, a lot of smiles, a lot of tears flow as you walk through that. And I've been on, 29 honor flights now. And I will tell you that every single honor flight that I've ever went on, it's emotional to come back into that welcome home, just to see the faces of these veterans and get a chance to say thank you. It's just an experience. And that's definitely something that even if you don't go on a flight, that's definitely something that anybody can come out and they can participate in, and they can come out and join us at that welcome home and cheer on these veterans when we open that door up and that band's playing. It's definitely an experience.
Will Miller from Flag City Honor Flight. Really a good news story, and I want to thank Will for joining us.
Thank you. We appreciate you putting us on the forum here and your podcast and kind of be able to tell everybody about what we do. We just want to tell everybody that if you got a veteran out there that hasn't went on an honor flight, a World War II, a Korea or Vietnam veteran, get them over to our website, get them signed up. We want to take them on an honor flight.
And the website again for Flag City Honor Flight is flagcityhonorflight.org. I'm London Mitchell. Contact me through my website, londonmitchell.news, and follow me on Blue Sky. And please accept this invitation to join us again next week as we continue staying in contact.
Previous installments of Staying in Contact with London Mitchell are available on the Stream 419 app, Spotify, and londonmitchell.news.